Hey, this is Nick, aka The Weiler here, for the Deadly Operative Grunts show.
The Deadly Operative Grunt show! Oh, yeah.
Hey, thanks for joining us today. On today's show, we're going to be talking about the Game Pass from Xbox versus PlayStation Now, and also Kong Skull Island and our thoughts on it. But first, as always, it's time for your post-weekly news. It's time to get pwned. Alright, so as, everyone probably knows, the Nintendo Switch came out, and cartridges taste terrible. I don't know why this is newsworthy, but everybody had to cover this week. And of course, a lot of people had to actually give it a try. Take somebody's word on it. Don't actually try it out. So, if you're wondering why it doesn't taste like a good cherry sucker, it's because they put on some kind of weird chemical to make it taste really bitter, so kids don't want to swallow it, So, that's news, apparently. YouTube just announced that they're going to have YouTube TV. This is kind of cool, and this kind of goes along the same as PlayStation View, Sling. I think even DirecTV has some kind of service where you can just stream it or whatever. It's basically Netflix, but you get live shows on TBS and stuff like that, rather than on Netflix. Obviously the season has to be done with before it sends you it. So this is kind of cool. I think competition just breeds more creativity. So now people like the Hulu and Netflix and Sling and PlayStation View, they have to start finding out ways to make it better. Maybe PlayStation will start adding in certain channels that YouTube TV won't, in order to compete. And so, this is a good thing. We got our first look at Emily Blunt as Mary Poppins. It's not a very good shot, but, knowing our luck, because last week we talked about Shadow of War and how it was leaked on Target, but of course, a day later they actually showed the trailer. So knowing our luck, you're actually going to have a trailer already. Speaking of trailers, DuckTales came out with their trailer for their new series. They're redoing DuckTales. And although the trailer is fine, there's nothing that sticks out as a red flag, as, oh my god, they're ruining my childhood. It's also just kind of well, why do they have to remake it? I'm intrigued, but very cautiously, because it just looks like they're doing another DuckTales. It doesn't look like anything in particular that they're doing different. They're just, hey, you remember that thing back in the day? Let's do it again. Other than the animation style just being different, there's just nothing different about it, And that's not necessarily a bad thing, not necessarily a good thing. I just, we'll have to wait and see. In other trailer news, we have a Deadpool 2 teaser. This was really funny. It's really just kind of a short. I would highly, highly doubt if this actually makes it into the final film, because it's kind of its own little standalone funny thing. And there is an Easter egg in it. There's a Logan poster in the background. I thought that was ah! So they were clearly just doing it because Fox owns Deadpool and Logan. So they were kind of just hey, remember us? And obviously they don't even know when it's coming out. So it's all coming, not soon enough. So it's funny. Go watch it. It's 3 minutes long, and it's funny. It's Deadpool. Speaking of Deadpool, David Harbour, which is the guy who plays the sheriff on Stranger Things. He also has a lot of other roles, but that's what he'll always be known as from now on, is in talks to play Cable. Now, this is really weird because I myself has reported, I said that really weird. I myself have reported that Russell Crowe is going to be Cable. No, the guy from Friday Night Lights is going to be Cable. No, it's going to be the guy from Avatar. At this point, it's just pretty much guessing who's going to be the new Doctor Who. I mean, there's a lot of people in talks to be Cable, and I still think it should be the guy from Avatar. Because, like, put up his picture. Like, that's Cable. Just put some metal on the side of his face. That's freaking Cable right there. I mean, just pick him. But instead they're going to pick David, which he's a really good actor. And I definitely think that although he is really good at his craft, I don't know if he's ever actually had a movie where, like, he was the lead. So maybe this could be his break. I mean, he'll still be side by Deadpool, but I don't know. Maybe this could really be the kick in the ass that his career needs. I mean, as long as it doesn't mess with Stranger Things 2, I mean, I don't really care. And I really like him, I think it could go well. Him with a metal face is pretty much just like Russell Crowe with a metal face, or Friday Night Lights with a metal face. I mean, it's really just a guy with a metal face, and he's gruff, and he's and he's able to put up with Deadpool's crap. I mean, that's pretty much all it is. That's pretty much all we have for you in the post-week news. Now it's time for a Spitfire review. Alright, today's Spitfire review is Horizon Zero Dawn. I love it! It is awesome. And, I mean, whoever thinks that robot dinosaurs can't be cool and fun and exciting needs to be checked for a mental disorder, because it is so good. I can't really even tell you how good it is. Honestly, go try it. I would love to award this a buy, because I think if you have PlayStation 4, this is a game that you need to buy. The only reason I say that it's not a must-buy is because there's definitely some people out there that think that there's an open-world fatigue, and I can definitely see where you're coming from. But I really do think you need to give this a try. You really need to try it out. Even though it is open-world, it does things so naturally. Like, for instance, there was a side character, a side quest, and the way I got it was I heard somebody yelling, and I used my ears to go find where they were. And only when I got close enough did I actually see an icon on my minimap. So I had to go and find this person. So it was very organic, which is funny coming from robot dinosaurs. And climbing a long neck for the first time was just really cool. And being up there is so gorgeous, and it just plays very well. I fire an arrow, and it goes exactly where I want it to be. Nothing feels too stiff. Nothing feels too smooth or like greasy. I can't speak highly enough as it. Speaking of not being able to speak highly enough as it, another one, we're going to throw a movie in there for you. And the movie is Hacksaw Ridge. Hacksaw Ridge is directed by Mel Gibson, and it stars Andrew Garfield as a conscientious objector to World War II. But he goes there to be a combat medic. And so the entire movie is his struggle to get through basic training and get through the war alive, because he refuses to even touch a rifle, to even pick it up. And he's like, no, I can't. This brings death to people. I can't do that. And it's a really interesting movie. It got nominated for a lot of rewards. I think it might have actually won some of them. And I think it definitely deserves it. And if you haven't tried, or if you haven't watched it yet, go to Redbox and check it out. It's a really good movie. So that's it for that. We're going to move on to Dog Watching, where we talk about Kong Skull Island. Alright, so we're here to talk about Kong Skull Island. Here with me today is...
Hi, I'm Doug. You guys should already know me by now. The freshness.
There you go. Otherwise, the subtitles beneath you will make no sense! So, we're going to talk about Kong Skull Island. Comes out tomorrow on the 10th. Yes.
Yeah, 10th. The 10th.
Tomorrow is totally the 10th.
We're not looking into the future.
The year 2000! So, I mean, from the trailers, what do you think about it?
I really look forward to it. It does look amazing. I've already seen, I'm pretty sure like everyone else, the Peter Jackson version of it.
Right.
I wasn't a huge fan of it. It was a good movie, but it was like just the classic King Kong retelling over again.
Yeah.
And then this one looks like they have a new twist to it. They added, not only is there Kong in it, there's other types of creatures in it that I'm looking forward to seeing. Maybe, hopefully, a better storyline to it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it looks very entertaining, and, of course, with how CGI is doing nowadays, the Kong even looks better than the Kong of old.
True. I mean, the CG work on it is very well done, and I do like where they're going with it. Now, if you don't know this, the actual reason they're even doing this, another Kong, the whole reason they're doing this is so that they can have a Godzilla versus Kong. So the Godzilla that we saw, I want to say like 2 years ago, it got kind of like mixed reviews.
Yeah.
But the whole reason they're making this is so that they can have Kong versus Godzilla. I'm totally up for that,
Yes. Yeah.
And so now we're kind of just getting the whole shared universe. So, this has to have the origin story before we have the big, Avengers or whatever. Which, speaking of Avengers, Tom Hiddleston is in it.
That's true, yep.
So, I mean, Trickster is up to his old bag of tricks. But, I mean, it looks interesting. I guess my whole thing is that I don't see enough of it that stands out as completely different. Because, you were talking about, like, the creatures, and so they kind of have the same thing. Now, it does look like they maybe go into a little bit more depth, because, like, there's one where it's, like, this big, huge buffalo, and it's, like, coming out of the water really slow. So that looks kind of cool. Whereas in the Peter Jackson one, they have T-Rexes, so he beats the crap out of them, and big-ass bugs. And so they kind of just stuck there. Whereas just from the trailer itself, you can kind of see that there are different types of animals. And it does look like there might even be a huge spider.
Yes, walking through the trees. Yeah, that's what I think it is. You can't really tell what it is, but it looks, like some sort of freaking big ass spider.
So yeah.
And the original one, well, not the original one, because that's like in the 50s or whatever, but they stuck with more of the dinosaur motif, like Kong is, was back in the dinosaur age. In this one, it seemed like they were trying to make it as even Kong was even here before the dinosaurs.
Yeah. Yeah, and if anything, this one, instead of being prehistoric, it kind of seems to just be big versions of everything else.
Of everything else, yeah.
So I can see what you mean there.
Like Big World and Super Mario 3.
Yeah. And I mean, even like the Skull Crushers could just be like a bigger version of some type of a iguana or
Would even look
like a Komodo dragon or something.
Two of them wore skulls or something. I don't know if you noticed that. But
yeah,
because they would have the lizard faces, and then you would see one that had it was a white face. It almost looked painted. But,
True. So maybe it's like the tribes, because there's always been tribes in all the iterations or whatever. So maybe that's them. They painted it on them. Maybe they tamed one of them.
Yeah.
And so, because I mean, obviously Kong is like the king of the jungle, and he has dominion over the entire thing. So maybe that was the tribal people's way of fighting back to Kong. You said something about the Kong's parents. Go ahead and
Oh yeah, in the trailer you see there's a mass grave.
Right.
And apparently that was the gravesite of Kong's parents that were killed by those skull crushers or whatever he calls them. I think it was skull crusher.
Right.
Skull something.
Right.
Why is it called that?
It's because I just came up with
Yeah. Because it's cool.
Because it sounded really menacing.
And
yeah.
Do
Go ahead.
you think it's also set in the 70s? Right after Vietnam?
I think so. Judging by the music that they chose to use,
And,
I'm going to say 70s.
and the color stream, and of course Samuel Jackson's in this one, so... You didn't know that?
What?
Samuel Jackson,
Is there something he's not in?
Oh, okay. I was like, come on, you had to know that.
I think I would be more surprised if he wasn't in this. He was in Tarzan, too. So it's like any retelling of something, he has to be in.
He was in Tarzan? I haven't seen that, so...
Tarzan, yeah, the newest remake,
one?
the live action.
Yeah.
I mean, he plays a lot bigger part than the trailers lead on. The trailers just make it seem like, he's kind of a side character. Which, I mean, he is... But he plays a lot bigger part.
He doesn't play as the gorilla that can talk to him?
No.
Sorry.
Oh, jeez. But, so yeah, I mean, that's kind of a new layer. Like, so it's not just Kong, it's more, if it's
he had a family
at maybe even he had like a kid, maybe the kid's dead or something like that. So that would be like even more morbid, which kind of goes back to the whole thing where it's not like he's an anomaly. This is just like, this is the Bermuda Triangle and everything is a lot bigger here. Mm-hmm. So that would make sense because like even in Peter Jackson's where you have the dinosaurs, you have the bugs and all that, and I think there were the brontosauruses and the reptars. Mm-hmm. Velociraptors.
Raptors.
Which, if you think about it, those were just normal-sized dinosaurs. So why was Kong big and the bugs big? This universe at least makes it so that everything's big. There's a big spider. There's a big buffalo, water buffalo. There's big lizards and there's big gorillas. Yeah. Multiple. And I don't think, obviously, I've never seen the 1950s one, except for in passing. I've never seen the 1950s one, so I don't know if there were other gorillas in that. But this universe is basically just saying that everything's big here, everything has evolved to a certain spot, and I think they're going to play up the fact that no humans have messed with this for so long that like maybe that's why they're so big.
Well, it's because John Goodman, he's in it too. He sort of, in one of the trailers that I saw, he sort of explains what he's doing there.
Right.
And it explains that his theory was that they've always been here. It was us humans that came in later and took over everything else.
Right.
And that is the last vestige of these meta animals. I don't know what he called them, something, but
yeah, makes sense. So yeah, I mean, because of the Bermuda Triangle and how it's like there's so many storms and everything, nobody can get in there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that makes sense. So. I mean, I think that's going to be kind of interesting. I think the biggest thing that it's going to have to get past is the fact that it is another Kong.
Yeah.
It's just like any reboot or remake, it's going to have to get past the fact that, yes, there was another one. What are we doing different? What are we doing better? Or what could we do better? Mm-hmm. We're getting a Godzilla versus King Kong. But we've had that already. Yes, it was old. They were in suits. You could probably see the zipper and everything.
Yeah, well, you can now, especially in HD.
Right. So, I mean, there is that, but, like, what exactly are they going to do to be different? Because, like, to me, the first time I saw it, I was like, okay, they're just doing this because they remade Godzilla. Until, obviously, you do a little diggling. Oh, okay, they want to do, Godzilla versus, okay, whatever. And so...
Which then begs the point, I mean, because there's a whole bunch of Godzilla versus / King Kong versus.
Right.
So, I mean, are they going to try to... And hopefully, They don't do it where we get an origin movie for each one.
Right. Yeah, the origin story of Metal Godzilla.
Yeah, or was there a giant moth?
Yeah, Mothra.
Yeah, Mothra. There you go. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, there'd just be way too many movies.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're going to do something like that. And I mean, it kind of goes along the same side of we're getting a new Mary Poppins. I talked about that at the beginning. We're getting a new Beauty and the Beast. As far as I know, a lot of the cartoons of Disney, they're remaking into a live action.
Okay.
So we're going to get a Mulan. We're going to get a...
Lion King?
Yes, we're getting the Lion King, yeah. So, I
sense.
mean, so it's interesting. So I think this is pretty much just putting it in the hands of people nowadays. You know, speaking of Peter Jackson, you kind of already talked about how you didn't particularly like it. I liked it. I didn't like parts of it, Jack Black. I didn't like parts of it, and I do think that they definitely went a little bit too melodramatic, because, like, even Naomi Watts and Giant Nose Man, what's his name?
Giant Nose Man. Oh.
He's the pianist, and he's in the jacket. Oh, jeez.
I don't know now.
I said too much. Giant Nose Man. Cast of Peter Jackson's King Kong.
We gotta look it up real quick.
The cast of King Kong includes Peter Jackson,
Well, thank you.
Naomi Watts, and
Peter Jackson's in it?
He's a gunner.
Oh,
Adrian Brody.
Okay, let me see his face.
Adrian Brody.
Oh, okay.
His power comes from his nose. But anyways,
oh, man.
So Adrian Brody, but the romance between Adrian Brody and Naomi Watts was a little forced and, yeah, melodramatic, because she was, you know, the starlet with, you know, glitter in her eyes, and she's like, oh my goodness, and everything like that. So it was a little melodramatic, but what I did like, and if they can take one thing from Peter Jackson's into Kong Skull Island, is the character development.
Okay.
It was 3 hours long, which some would say is way too fucking long. But for me, like, the first hour of the movie is getting to know the characters. That way, when Naomi Watts starts getting carried around by a giant-ass gorilla, you give a crap about it.
Yeah, okay.
Whereas if, here we do, the trailer shows them dropping bombs, and obviously they go to some bar to pick up Tom Hiddleston, because he's a tracker, and they need a tracker.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, John Goodman, Samuel L. Jackson, all really good actors. But, you know, what are they going to do to make me care? Because even, like, the photographer, she's played in a couple of other movies. Honestly, I couldn't tell you.
I don't know her name, yeah.
I know she's in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. She plays as, like, the ex-girlfriend of
That's
Scott
what
Pilgrim.
I thought, okay.
But she's blonde now, and she's in the band, and
Yeah.
so, and then Superman kicks his butt. So, but yeah, even her, like, you know, what am I going to care if Kong takes her? Why am I going to care about that? If Tom Hiddleston is inches away from death, why am I going to care about that? Because, if anything, the Tom Hiddleston character kind of seems like your typical, you know, oh, I'm a badass and I have to be, you know, snarky about everything.
Mm-hmm.
John Goodman, I mean, he's good no matter what. I mean, name something he's bad at. I mean, I can't. Samuel L. Jackson.
Not right off the spot, but...
Yeah, I mean... Speed Racer. There we go. That's a bad John Goodman right there.
Speed Racer.
Speed Racer.
Well, I haven't seen that one, thank God, obviously. Is it the live action of it all?
Yeah, it's the Wachowski brothers.
Oh, God. So why are they ruining all these great anime shows with live action copies, and they just turn out to be shite?
Right. One thing I do have to say is that at least when Wachowskis did The Matrix, they took a lot of inspiration from Ghost in a Shell.
Oh, okay.
But they didn't call it Ghost in the Shell. So it's like you took the same principles of, you know, being jacked in and hacking certain things, but you didn't have to go all the way. So we're going off topic.
Well, yeah, I was about to say, because they're doing a Ghost in the Shell live one too, and that better be good, damn it.
It looks like we'll talk about.
I know, we got
I think that's
2
like
weeks.
Next episode or what?
Yeah.
We'll talk about that a little bit.
Okay. Sorry to jump the gun.
That's what schedules are for. So, anyways, yeah. What are they gonna do to make me care? That's the main thing. Because yes, it might have been 3 hours long, and it was that first hour was kind of a bit of a trudge because they were on the way to the island. Mm-hmm. But then once the action did start, I do believe it kept it at a pretty high pace for the whole time. And even though there was a lot of it that was kind of a CG mess, it still just it made you care. And so that's what you need. You need to be able to give a crap about these characters. You know, it doesn't need to be an excuse for a giant gorilla and explosions.
Yeah, which, from what the trailers have seen, I mean, that's what it's probably leaning towards right now. But,
one thing
I don't know.
Oh, sorry.
Go on.
One thing I wanted to point out, and maybe this is just me, but it seems to me just from certain... I don't know if it's just because they decided to use certain shots, but there's certain shots where Kong seems a little bit more humanoid. Because, like, there's certain shots where he's just standing up straight and he's like, Whereas the Peter Jackson, he had a silverback gorilla as his gorilla. So a lot of times, even if he was standing up straight, he was kind of like this because they have that arch in their back.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
But the Kong, like, if you can put a picture up for me, Adam, right here, he stands up extremely straight. Okay. And, like, even when you see, like, the silhouette of him and the helicopters are going towards him, like, he's standing up very straight, and even though there's certain times where he's like, rah, you know, it's very ape-like, there's just certain parts that seem very humanoid. And I don't know if that's going to be,
maybe
like,
he's more
explained or...
intelligent?
Maybe.
He's the missing link.
Yeah, maybe that's it, too. I mean, I know there's a throwaway line in one of the trailers where it's like, you know, those nuclear tests, you know, they were trying to get rid of this or whatever. Yeah. Which is funny because that's what they were doing with Godzilla. So it's like, make up your mind! Yeah. Oh, wait, was it Godzilla? I don't know. I thought it...
Well, Godzilla was
now they're getting all mixed up.
Yeah, it was a nuclear blast.
Oh, okay. So...
Well, at least from the one that I saw, which was... the one with... Crap. What's his name? He's from Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Oh,
the main character in Ferris Bueller's...
Matthew Broderick.
Broderick?
Yeah.
I was going to say Brody.
Brody.
Broderick, yeah.
Broderick.
See, that's the last Godzilla I've seen. I haven't even seen the new one yet.
Yeah.
I forgot all about that one.
Well, damn it! I'm scared it's not really a Godzilla movie.
It isn't.
We'll get on that later. So overall, you're excited to see it. Do you think this will be a day one thing, or what do you think?
I won't stand in line for it, so I guess not day one. It's no Rogue One or Star Wars 7, but yeah, I could see myself spinning the dough to watch it.
Yeah.
Probably day 2 or 3 when majority of the crowd's already gone and seen it.
Yeah, totally agree. I don't think I need to have a midnight showing of this, but I'm intrigued enough, and there's enough about the trailers. Obviously, they could just show all the good stuff, but there's enough about it to make me want to go to the theaters. So, I mean, I think that's saying something. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's what we think about it. Let us know if you're going to plan on seeing it, and let us know in the comments below. Up next, we're going to be talking about Game Pass versus PlayStation Now. Up next. Hey, this is Nick from the Deadly Operative Grunts show, and when I want a place to go hang out, drink some beer, play some old school arcade games, I go to Spacebar Arcade in downtown Boise. Check them out, and don't forget to tell them that the Deadly Operative Grunts sent you. And we're back. Alright, so today on Dog Talk, we're going to be talking about the difference between Game Pass and PlayStation Now. We're also going to talk about the pluses and negatives for each one. Yada, yada, yada.
Okay.
So, let's start with PlayStation Now, because that's the one I tried out. I've tried PlayStation
Did you?
Now. Yeah.
Okay. So tell me how you liked it then. So I wanted to try it, but I couldn't. Yeah. The price was a little too steep for me. So
Yeah. So let's start with the
Which we're
price.
getting there.
Price is $19.99, so $20. And it gives you access to hundreds and hundreds of PlayStation 3 games, which is cool. The PlayStation 3 has one of the best catalogs out there, and it came about because there was a company called Gaikai, and they were really good at video game streaming. So PlayStation bought them out, and so they turned them into PlayStation Now. So PlayStation Now was their sad attempt at backwards compatibility. I call it sad because Xbox One was able to do an emulator and have Xbox 360 games on their console. So if you had Red Dead Redemption on your Xbox 360, you can now play that on an Xbox One. It looks a little bit better. Obviously, it's not going to look a ton better, but it looks a little bit better, and it's on your Xbox One now. You don't have to keep your Xbox 360 anymore.
Yeah.
So, and then you have Game Pass. Now, Game Pass is only $9.99, and instead of streaming, you download the games onto your hard drive, and so there's no latency. And one of the biggest things, I think, is that not only does it have the Xbox 360, it has Xbox One games. Now, obviously, I don't think they've released the full list of it, but I think it's safe to assume that you're going to get a lot of main party ones. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be kind of like Netflix, where they rotate games.
Okay.
So maybe Halo 5 will be there on day one, but a couple months later, they'll rotate it out for Gears of War 4.
Okay.
So, what's your initial reaction to the stats?
Well, yeah, I already mentioned the $19.99 for the PlayStation Now was just a little bit above my price range, considering that the games they have. Like I said, it was a good catalog of PlayStation 3 games, but these are all games that I've already played and beaten, at least the ones that I've seen.
True.
I do... The whole streaming idea, because you can stream them, you would think that the PlayStation Now would have more games. Because if you were on doing the Xbox Game Pass, where you'd have to download them, there's only so many you could fit on there, and that's like of the old games, and then you have to worry about the newer games that are coming out. So, but the price seems a lot better. If I had an Xbox One, which I don't, because I'm Sony PlayStation all the way.
Right,
I guess I always will be.
Yeah.
The price seems right, because you do get new games, and you also get the old 360 games.
Right.
So, yeah, I could see it. I mean, if I had the Xbox, I would definitely get it. Mm-hmm. Compared to now, if like the PlayStation Now would actually start getting newer games, or even putting older ones from like the PS1 Classic or something.
Oh yeah,
I could see. I mean, at least for my personal view,
right? I
could see it, because the only one that I've seen on PS1 Classic is Final Fantasy VII, which it's not on PlayStation Now. You can buy it for like $10. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, I could see spending $20 on that, as long as they keep it, because they don't even rotate in the PlayStation Now, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so they just keep adding to it.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're up to over like 900 probably by now.
And when you were on it, did you have latency problems at all? Was it an issue for you?
For me, no, but obviously, so the negative about PlayStation Now would be the latency and or internet connection. Mm-hmm. So if for some reason, like there's an outage in my area, I can't play my PlayStation Now. I can't, or if there's a slowdown, I use up all my data, so they, throttle me or something like that. So then something that I should be able to, react to in a lightning speed kind of way, there's now just that little millisecond or whatever. I think when there was a little bit of latency, it wasn't enough to break the experience. But I also didn't play like high-octane first-person shooters.
Yeah, and could you play the multiplayer part on those through the Now?
I don't know. If anybody knows that, let us know in the comments.
Because that would be a big difference too. Because if you can't do it streamed, but on the Game Pass, you download it, and as long as the other person has it downloaded, they should be able to connect.
True, yeah. And I think even on like the 360 or on the Xbox One, it's an emulator for a 360, so you can still use online functionality.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I love Sony, and I'll always stick with them. Even if I have like an Xbox One on the side, I'll still get a lot of my third-party stuff on the PlayStation, just because that's the controller that I prefer, and it's just where my heart lies. So I mean, but I do have to say, when Xbox announced that they were going to have backwards compatibility, I was like, I was terrified, because up to then, PlayStation was just a freaking juggernaut. It could not be stopped. Now, they announced that. I was really scared. Thankfully, the PlayStation 4 has still been a juggernaut and will continue to be a juggernaut. But, I mean, I don't know. This seems like it could help the Xbox One. I don't know just how quickly PlayStations are going out. I don't know if it's enough to help it catch up, but I definitely think it's enough to help.
Yeah.
It could be a PlayStation 3 situation. The PlayStation 3 never caught up to the 360, but it did a very admirable job.
Yeah.
So I think that with this, it could have a really good chance. So let's talk about the game storage problem. Mm-hmm. So it's like, yeah, I can get an Xbox One game, but an Xbox One game can be like, let's talk about like Battlefield. How much is Battlefield? Like 60 gigs?
Well, it started, I think, 60 gigs.
And then you have updates, and you have expansions.
Which is the first one's about to come out anytime this month, I would assume. So, yeah. You're going to go up to 100, and that's, 1/10 of a terabyte? So, if you think of all the games that'll be, 100... What was Infinite Warfare? Wasn't that 100 gigs? And that's before this terabyte thing came out.
I think Infinite was in the 60s. I think Infinite Warfare was in the 60s.
Okay.
Even something like Battleborn, which isn't a super high graphically challenging game. It's very cartoony, kind of like Borderlands, obviously. Even that is like 26 gigs.
The beta, just for... Unless you download the whole game in a beta, I would assume, but the beta for Ghostlands was 30 gigs in itself. Do you know if you...
You mean Wildlands?
Yeah, what I say, Ghostlands.
You said Ghostlands.
Yeah, Ghost Recon, Wildlands. Ghostlands
that's
for sure.
That's the official name now, Ghostlands. I think, okay, let's go back to For Honor. For Honor was like 26 gigabytes. When the full game came out, it only went up to like 32 gigabytes.
So it's almost the full game.
Then plus, the day one patch. Yeah. So let's say 33 or 34 gigabytes altogether.
Okay.
So, and that's for that type of game.
And I can only see games getting bigger and bigger.
Right.
So, I mean, and the new hard drives are 1 terabyte?
Yep.
So, yeah.
I think even PlayStation is letting you do a 1 terabyte. But like on mine, like I can only have 4, maybe 5 really big games, really big AAA games on there. Maybe 6. Maybe I'm thinking like 5 or 6. Either way, you can only have 6 games. Then you add in, playing Horizon Zero Dawn, I had to decide, okay, what game do I want to get rid of just so I can fit it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I played it, but I redboxed it. So I put it back and was like, now I gotta delete it and re-download whatever I deleted if I want to play that.
And if you have internet with data caps on it, it really runs that. Because when I do the betas, I can only do a few betas, if they're 30 to 60 gigs a piece, and I only have, at that time I only had 500 gigs. I mean, it stretches that cap a lot, so.
Right. I mean, I think what PlayStation now needs to do in order to compete is start doing PlayStation 4 games. And I mean, they have PlayStation Plus and even obviously Xbox Gold. And they give you free games. And they said that that's not going to change. You're still going to get games with Gold. Just like you still have PlayStation Now games and PlayStation 4 games that you're getting for free. But I think the leg up that Xbox is going to have is price, and you get new games.
Yes.
Even if it is 2 years old, that's still way newer than all the stuff you're getting on PlayStation now. Even when they, at least once a month, they add 100 games or 50 games or whatever. They're always boasting about it on PlayStation, the PlayStation
Most
Store.
of it's trash, but...
Right, but that's not even the point. The point is you have all this to choose from, and you can, at any point, you can stream it, which is, I mean, that's kind of cool, but it's also just, it's just an archive. Whereas having newer games and downloading it. Now here's the question. Go ahead.
And you brought that up because you said it was like an archive. When you stream it, you will have access right at the very start to all these games on PlayStation Now.
Yeah.
When you have to download it, you'll only have access to the ones that you download.
The ones you can fit.
Yeah, the ones.
So you have access to all of them, but you're going to have to delete, download. So I mean,
if you want the game back, then you got to re-download it again. So.
Right. Which, speaking of re-downloading, with PlayStation Now, you can stream 900 plus games, and all you have to do is go to that game and click on it. Mm-hmm. This one, you have to download it. You have to wait for it. But like I said before, it's kind of like Netflix, where they're going to rotate them out. Mm-hmm. So does that mean, let's say I have Halo 5 downloaded on my thing, it's completely free. When they rotate it out, I haven't deleted it. Will I lose my access to it?
That would suck. I would be so pissed at that.
Because that's one thing, like PlayStation Plus, I love being able to get a free game, and it is free to me no matter what. I can have my membership lapse, and then I can start it back up 3 months from now, and I still have access to all of the PlayStation Now games that I got for free, all the games that I got at a discounted price, everything. I still have access to it. What about these 100 games that we get access to? If I have Halo and I don't delete it, I keep it on my system, I play it every single day, but they decide to rotate it out and I don't have access for it anymore? I mean, that's gonna really suck.
I would be super pissed if that happened.
Especially if it is a game that you play every day.
Or like I'm just about to beat it and you play
it. God, right.
And then
I'm gonna Leroy Jenkins this thing and I'm just gonna finish it.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, that would be a big tipping point for me.
Yeah.
If something like that were to happen, because I even hate it on Netflix. I'll have, all kinds of things on my list. And then all of a sudden it's gone. I'm like, what the fuck happened?
Well, yeah, and then it's like you have to listen to the interweb, and it's like, oh, well, it got rotated out.
Yeah.
They just rotated in Anastasia, which is an old DreamWorks.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
They just rotated it in. I swear to God, me and Ashley watched that months ago.
Yeah.
So that means that it rotated out and back in.
Why do they do the rotates?
All I can think of is licensing. So it's like they sign a contract with DreamWorks, let us stream your movies for this long. And then in order for DreamWorks to get royalties, they have to re-up their contract.
Okay, yeah.
So, I mean, That makes sense. And obviously all the Netflix originals, not only can you watch them whenever you want and they'll never rotate out, but you can actually now you can download the Netflix originals so you can have an offline mode, basically.
That's pretty cool.
So yeah, that's really cool. So I mean Game Pass is the PlayStation Now offline mode.
Yeah.
But
that's what they keep it, because
yeah, if it doesn't go good,
I've seen like the PlayStation Plus just the other day. I don't know why, because we have our accounts linked up on each other's things. Sorry. But I wasn't able to access a game that I bought because it wasn't my primary. Because I didn't have internet access at that time. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah,
that really pissed me off.
Same thing will happen to me. I'm like, I'll go to Battleborn, and I'm like, crap, I don't have any internet. So not only can I not play online because, but I can't play any of my games. So I'm like, son of a bitch.
He lives in my house, by the way.
Yeah, totally.
It's the same. We just have different internet connections in different parts of the house.
Yeah, so that's why the IPs don't match up. But yeah, it's kind of a tangled mess because you could pay more for technically more games, because like I said, it's up to 800, 900 games on the PlayStation Now, or you could spend less. You don't have to worry about the latency, but you do have to worry about storage. I think PlayStation Now, what they should have done from the very beginning is download a portion of the game so you don't have the latency issue, and then as you go through the game, you're just downloading that part of the game in the background. You know, if they would do that, and that could get rid of the latency almost altogether. The only latency you would have is if there's an internet spike, so it slows the download down. But even then, I don't think it would do it that much. You know, but to somebody who maybe they're still on like a 5 megabyte or a 10 megabyte a second, you know, internet deal, which I don't know, that have to be unheard of by now. But it has to be
at least 100.
Yeah, I don't know
now, because you can go through 10 megabytes watching a Netflix show.
I meant speed.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, I can
caps.
yeah, 10 megabytes. I watch a YouTube video. It's like, fuck. But no, for the speed. I mean, I imagine there's still people out there who have a 5 megabyte second speed. Like, it seems so ancient to us, but I mean, they do offer it on Cable One. So if you're on you're on the dime, you can't spend that much, and you have the lowest speed, PlayStation Now's not going to be for you, because even in a game like The Last of Us, it's not online. You're playing a story, but like, let's say you have it on a harder difficulty and you have seconds to react to something running at you, so you have to shoot it in the head. You know, if you have a delay, that's just gonna really, it's really gonna affect your ability, or it's gonna affect your ability. It's gonna affect your mood. But then you have downloads, and having to worry about how much space is on there. Not only that, but it does sound like there's going to be 100 games. So I don't know if they'll go up, or if it's always just going to be 100 games.
And they'll just constantly
rotate it. Not only that, but that begs the question, how often are they going to rotate it?
100 for 10 or 900 for 20. It's starting to,
It's starting to go this way towards PlayStation Now, but it just, I don't know. Like, if I had an Xbox One, I would have to say the same thing. I would get it, just so I have access to that kind of stuff. And then here's the thing. I would never buy anything because I'd be like, oh, it'll eventually come on Game Pass.
Yeah.
So I would but I mean, I guess just like Netflix will, till the day I die, and probably onwards, because I'll give Zoe-Ann my account.
Yeah.
Netflix will constantly, every single month, get $12 for me. Every freaking month. So, like, the same thing could have happened for Game Pass. We could just keep giving them money, and like, I mean, how does that work with royalties? And it's the same thing with Netflix. When you have stuff come off and it goes back on, I don't know. So
constantly, it's too chaotic sometimes. So
yeah. But But I mean, that's our thoughts on it. I mean, I don't think there is a clear winner because I do think it really has to do with you. If you have the internet connection and you love the PlayStation, or maybe you weren't able to play the PlayStation, maybe you were on the 360 and you switched to the PlayStation 4, and so you want to get that backlog, it could be something good for you, but maybe only for a couple of months. The Game Pass, you might be able to, it might have more longevity because you'll be able to get newer games. Maybe not the newest, biggest, fattest game that comes out tomorrow, but you'll get newer games. You don't have to worry about latency, everything like that. So, I mean, there's not really a definitive winner. If we go strictly by numbers, Game Pass. I mean, you pay less, but you get, all this stuff. But then if we go on the other side of numbers, 800 games. So it's like, I don't know. So you let us know, not just where your allegiance lies, but what do you think is actually the better deal? Try to be objective about it. Don't just pick PlayStation because you're a PlayStation fanboy or Xbox because you love Xbox. Let us know, what do you really think is the better deal? Let us know in the comments below. That's pretty much it for the Deadly Operative Grunts show. Okay. Make sure to like us on Facebook and YouTube and on Twitter at Deadly Op Grunts. Make sure to keep checking us out. We're having a lot of Top 10 Tuesdays. I'm enjoying doing them. I think you guys are enjoying watching them, so thank you. We'll keep that up. Other than that, this is the Deadly Operative Grunts show, and we're feeling squirrely.
Have you ever felt?
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Triple threat.